Hi everyone, I'm here in my garden on Vancouver Island. It's nearing the end of October and it's time to plant garlic. So I've prepared our bed for garlic. So I've pulled out all my summer plants. I've amended the soil with some manure on top, and I've got my garlic here. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to be planting 2 varieties of garlic here, and these are the ones that I usually grow. I haven't had too much success with getting huge bulbs just yet, but usually if I save my biggest cloves of garlic and plant those, then I'm going to get the biggest bulbs. These small ones over here, they're quite small, but this is a music variety. So these are a hardneck variety. There's about 4 cloves per bulb, and you can see that these ones are quite small, but I'm going to plant those anyways. And then these ones are larger, usually about 6 cloves per bulb, and you can see these are quite a bit bigger, and I'm going to save the biggest ones for planting. And some of this, I might not plant all this garlic. I probably will save some of it for eating as well. But if I plant the largest cloves, hopefully that means that I will get the largest bulbs in next summer. So I also have bone meal, which is important for helping with anything in the ground. So I'm going to take some of my organic all-purpose 444 fertilizer, and I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit right on top of the bed. Okay, and now as far as planting goes, I'm going to separate all my garlic bulbs. I'm going to separate them into individual cloves. So take your largest, healthiest garlic bulb. So you want to separate it into individual cloves, and then when you plant them, you're going to plant them pointy side up so the roots are facing into the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and separate all my bulbs. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to pull apart your clove, take out the stem and get rid of that, and keep the largest cloves. And you can just peel the outside of the paper off. I'm going to save all that for my compost. I'm putting it into another bucket, and then it's okay if they still have some of the peel on them. That's going to compost anyway, so it's not a big deal. Also, if you do have any of the garlic bulbils, these are actually, if you let your garlics flower and go to flower, they'll actually produce seeds, and these are little garlic seeds. Basically, they're called bulbils, and you can actually plant these if you want to. But they do take a few years to get to a big, nice clove size, but they're certainly plantable, so I'll probably save those and put them in a separate little bed. Okay, so I have my soil all ready for planting here. I have topped this bed with chicken manure, some compost, and also some organic 444 fertilizer. So that's all nice and mixed in there on the top. And now we're going to get going with planting. Okay, so I've got my bone meal and I've got my garlic cloves, and I'm just going to start making holes. And you can either plant your garlic 6 inches apart or 4 inches apart. Depends on how much space you have. I guess the further apart you plant them, the bigger they could potentially get. but I generally tend to go about try to do about 4 inches apart, somewhere between 4 and 6. So I'm going to make the holes just a couple inches deep. I'm going to take some bone meal and I'm going to put in just a small amount to each hole. So maybe half teaspoon to a teaspoon. Okay, and then I'm going to take the cloves of garlic, just pop them in there, pointy side up, press them down. Once they're in their holes, and you press them down a little bit, what you would do is just cover it up with some of your soil, give it a little pat. So it's probably in there a couple inches deep and it's ready to go. Okay, so I just planted about 153 cloves of red Russian hardneck garlic here. And as you can see, I left the border uncovered. So you can see where the borders are of the bed there, and you can see those yellow stakes that I put in there. I just like to put those in so that during the fall, before they start to sprout, I know exactly where I've planted them. So I've got 153 red Russian in there, and now I'm going to do some music garlic just on the end of it. Okay, so I popped 30 music garlic cloves into the ground here. So these are on the end of the red Russian garlic that I planted. So I think I'm just going to cover those up, and that's going to finish my garlic bed for this year. Okay, so I'm all finished planting the garlic for today. So I've planted a total of 183 cloves in this bed here. I did 153 red Russian and I did 30 music. So they're both hardneck varieties of garlic, and they will produce garlic scapes in the spring, which are delicious. And then we will be harvesting these probably end of July, maybe early August, just depending on how the season goes. They will probably start to sprout in the next few weeks, so I'll start to see green sprouts just popping out of the ground through the fall and the winter. That's totally fine. Garlic is very cold hardy, so it will survive frost, it will survive quite cold temperatures, and we get to at least -10 here Celsius, and that's totally fine for this garlic. And maybe in your part of the world it's different, but I think it's fairly cold hardy no matter where you are. So but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get some maple leaves from our property, and I'm going to pile them right on top of this whole garlic bed, and that's going to act as a mulch and an insulator through the fall and the winter, and protect the garlic from any super cold temperatures or fluctuations in the temperatures. So let's do that. So I'm incredibly lucky that I have no shortage of big leaf maple trees on our property. So I have an abundance of leaves every fall. So I'm just going to collect a bunch. I'm going to get a rake and I'm going to spread these leaves out. So you don't want to step onto your garlic bed that you've just planted if you can avoid it. You don't want to compress all that. So I'm going to try to lightly spread out the leaves all around the bed. Okay, so now what this is going to do is this layer of maple leaves is going to provide insulation for the growing garlic through the season. It's going to prevent a fluctuation in temperatures, When it warms up, when it gets cold, it's going to maintain a constant temperature or more constant under those leaves. So for the rest of the fall and winter, you don't have to do anything to this garlic bed. You leave it alone, you go do your other things, and then in the spring, we'll see how the garlic's doing. We'll take off the mulch when it's ready and we'll start fertilizing, and then in the summertime, we'll be harvesting.